Today we're going to be making mini pictures, and these pictures are really wonderful to use with small easels, as you can see in the picture in the comments. And we're going to be working on making an ocean. So you can start out with any paint set that has the color blue, and you're really only going to need 2 colors of paint. So you can either use a box set that has blue in it, or you can get a tube of blue paint. And then if we're working with watercolors, you will also need a tube of watercolor white. And I'm using China White color from Artist Loft, but you can really use just about any kind of tube of white paint. And just make sure that it's ready to work with. You can put it on your palette or squeeze it onto a piece of paper if you don't have a palette, an extra piece of paper that doesn't that's leak proof. And you're going to need a clean cup of water and some paper towels. And let's get started. So when you paint an ocean, the exciting thing about painting oceans is that there really are no 2 moments that are alike in an ocean. If you watch the waves falling, there are never 2 moments that are exactly the same. You know, different parts of the waves are cresting and frothing, and other parts of the ocean are still, and it keeps changing. And in that same way, you can paint dozens of pictures of oceans, and no 2 watercolors of oceans will be exactly the same. And that's pretty exciting stuff. So what we're going to do is, let's start off by painting the clouds, or actually, I should say I'm going to have a cloudless sky. So what you need to do is use a clean brush and, excuse me, oops, and then just wet the top part of the picture where you want your sky to be. I'm going to have my horizon line right about here. So the whole top part of that picture is going to be wet. The reason for that is I'm going to put a drop of watercolor paint onto it, and it will seep very naturally out and spread. That'll be really fun and helpful. Now this sky is coming out darker than I would like it to be, but I'm choosing to use the same shade of blue that I'm going to use for my ocean. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a hint of blue. And so right now I'm just painting that sky, continuously wetting my brush and adding paint to it. And then what I'm going to do is blot out some of the color so that I just have a hint of blue remaining. So let me just do that for a moment. I'm going to take a paper towel, or you can take a tissue, and I'm just going to do this, and that will lighten up the color a lot. That's closer to the color that I'm looking for. And later, if I want, you know, the one thing about watercolors is that the paint is very forgiving. You can make a lot of changes in your painting as you go along till you have it just the way you want it, or closer to the way that you want it. So you can even change it days later. Okay, now what I'm going to do is make the waves. And all right, time to make waves. Above each wave, I'm going to have a white section. So I'm going to take the dark blue paint and put a lot of paint on it. Just let it flow. Isn't that wonderful? And now I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to make some bold dark blue lines going across, and these are going to be the waves. They don't all have to be the same width. They can be, but they do not have to be. You just do whatever comes naturally to you. But they do need to go across, because that's what waves do. If you watch waves, you'll see how, oh, they're so wide and flowing and crashing and cresting. We can almost, hopefully by the time we're done with our painting, we'll be able to almost hear the sounds of the waves frothing, almost, but not literally, of course. So let's keep making these bold lines. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the waves. Actually, I'd like to make these lines a little bit. There we go. Okay. They don't have to be perfect. And you know, one of the wonderful things about making these mini pictures, aside from the fact that if you decide to give them to people or to keep them for yourself, they're very versatile. They'll fit just about anywhere. You can put them on a desk, you can put them on a countertop, in just about any room. And the size of the pictures makes them really versatile, and they make nice gifts. So, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off my brush, dip it in water, and then use a paper towel to get the excess, not only the excess paint, but also the excess water off. And then I'm going to take some of that white paint. I'm going to dip my brush into the white paint, and now I'm going to continue to make the waves by, while the blue paint is still wet, I'm going to add some white paint. Watch what happens. So I'm going up and down, irregular lines. You know, I'm not making a straight line across, because waves are not straight lines, are they? Okay. Here, I think I want to create kind of a misty, foggy effect. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to my white paint. And let's see if it will seep into the blue a little more. See that? Creates a bit of a misty effect, which is kind of fun. But then I can use the drier part of the brush to have more bold colored white. I'm going to add a little bit more white to this, so that way it will have the foggy effect. But I'm also going to add white. And you can just explore, because that's the other wonderful thing about using smaller pieces of paper. You're not really wasting paper. You're using this to explore, and if it comes out great, wonderful. And if not, it's okay. You just get another piece and you start again. That's okay, because that's what it is to paint. You just practice and get better and better. And you will get better with practice. So now I have this top part, I have this part here, and I think I'll make the bottom part a little bit more clear for the waves rather than misty again. So let's try that. I just dipped it straight into the paint. I didn't add water this time. And again, I'm going up and down, but I'm making irregular lines. different lengths of line as I go along the wave to show that how it's frothing like a real wave does. Starting to be able to hear the ocean, or imagine hearing the ocean. Just to be clear, I don't really hear the ocean. I imagine that I can hear the ocean, smell the ocean, hear the birds above the ocean. And my picture is starting to come to life for me. Okay, so I want to make it a little bit more drippy. Now as I look at this, I think, I want a little bit more of a natural flow. Let me add a little water to see what happens when it mists up. Oh, okay, it's gonna flow. Okay. Now what I want to do, because we all know that an ocean does not look like blue and white striped lines. So now I'm going to fill in the white sections that are not waves with blue paint. And I can decide how dark or light I want it to be, but I'm probably not going to have it the same exact shade of blue as the wave, because I want to draw a distinction. I want the viewer to be able to see that where the wave has swelled up. I just see how dark that is, so I'm going to add more water. You can make it lighter by adding more water or by bearing down less hard on your brush. Okay, and that's actually much lighter than I want it to be. So I'm going to add more paint, a little bit drier this time, not adding water. And I'll just use this and I'll spread it around. See how it's a little bit of a lighter shade, so that way we can recognize that the wave is swelling. I'm going to leave some white here. That way I can decide if I want it to crest like this. And I'm thinking, nah, I think I would like it to crest in a misty way. So I'm going to actually fill in this part here with blue. So that way we just have the misty waves that were already created by using a wet brush earlier. Okay. Now I'm gonna try to make it a little bit more natural. Oops. Lightening up parts that I want to have be darker. Okay. And you can kind of explore this. I'm sure that your waves look a little different from mine, and that's okay. Over here, see how it gets a little bit darker? It looks almost like a swell. I can decide if I want to turn that into crest or not. But I think I don't. I think I want to keep it like that because in this particular picture, I just think it looks interesting. Again, I'm going to wet my brush and add some more blue paint beneath this swell and above the other wave that I have already created. So I'm adding some blue paint. My lines are going across partly because if there is any white space, sometimes I can get some interesting white spaces that look a little bit like reflection, which is fun. I can decide if I want to keep them or fill them in. So now let's look at this. We have a bluish sky, we have frothing, cresting waves, we have some swells, and then here we have kind of a misty look. There are a couple of changes that I'd like to make, and these are very personal choices. You can keep it as is, or you can change. And I'm gonna make this sky a little bit more blue. I'm not going to keep it dark blue like this. I'll use a paper towel to blot out some of the color and make it slightly lighter than it's going to turn out. But I would like to have a more obvious sky. You might want to have clouds in your sky. If you do, all you need to do is you can either use your paper towel to blot out specific areas of the sky. When you put the paper towel down and press hard, that little part will turn white. Or you can just leave blank spaces where you want your clouds to be while you're painting. So, okay. Whoops. It kind of pilled up a little bit, so here we go. Sometimes that happens when it gets very wet. I do like this shade of blue, but I would like it to be a little bit lighter. So let me just try blotting it out a bit. Now, if I did this in just only specific places, I would have clouds. But here we go. So now I have a sky. I'm very happy with this wave. I'm happy with having a swell here. I think I would like to have some more clear crests right here. So I'm going to wet my brush and I'm going to clean it. I'm going to clean my brush. And then with a drier brush, when I say dry, I don't mean completely dry, but just not water drooping from it. I'm going to take it and put some nice white paint onto the brush. And I'm going to use some thin strokes to make some white lines that will add a little bit more to the crest. I'm just using some up and down motions to create some clearer lines. So now here I have kind of a mixture of that mist that was created when I used a lot of water and clear lines that I'm creating now with a drier brush. Let's see. I'm going to need a little more. Okay, now what I'm going to do, when I look at this painting, I think, I think that this white line that I created here is, I want it to be a straighter line going across. That's me. You might choose to have a wave that mists all over the place. And actually, maybe I should do that too. I'm sitting here